All right, folks, I'm making my way down to the last garden bed I need to do in this update series for summer 2022. I noticed that all the rain has caused the thornless blackberry to become prolific in sending out suckers. So I got new suckers coming up. Okay, making my way. In the video I did regarding this bed, the pond to south bed, I talk about this right here. And it's a flower. I think I call it calendar flower. And that is not accurate. I don't remember the name offhand, but I'll probably put it in the description just so I can at least correct the record. Like I mentioned, I do use these videos for my own purposes, to keep track of what I've done and what I need to do. So, okay. All right, this is the garden bed that I'm talking about. Now, around the pond, I do have things planted. In years previous, we've had, all over the property, we've had horse mint, we've had Indian blanket, loads of wildflowers. But this year, with the drought, not a lot came up. So I won't cover what's around the garden bed. I've already covered a decent amount in other videos. But they're dormant, garlic, dormant onions, wildflowers, mostly things like that. Okay, let's get started. We have a Nanking cherry, and if you're asking me what's wrong with it, I'll probably tell you that it is too wet here. When we get rain, the contour of the land, this direction is uphill. So water flows in like this, and you may not be able to see it in the video, but I have like a mini swale going all the way down this garden bed. So the water comes in here, seeps into the ground, waters my garden bed, and gets into the pond, seeps into the pond. The pond, when it's full, overflows this direction, and this side of the garden bed is wet. So both sides of the garden bed are usually pretty soaked in the rain. I noticed the Nanking cherry doesn't react well when it gets a lot of water. At least not for me, it hasn't yet. Who knows? Maybe it got too dry. Couldn't tell you, but it is a Nanking cherry. Okay, and right next to it we have a quince. And you can see the horse mint down in there. Or horse mint, sorry, horse herb. Horse mint is different. This is a chili pequin. We've got Georgia collard and a really struggling Swiss chard, and another Swiss chard that's kind of struggling. You see it in there, but it's alive. It's doing okay. I'm going to cover this plant. This is a native. It does not have any value for human edibility, and it's nasty. It's a stinging plant. If you let this touch your skin, it stings. It's not a terrible sting, but it's an irritating itch that you'll get from it. And I've got it in a few places. I've got it over here. Wildlife likes it. It has some value there. There might be some pest resist, like it might attract a predator that kills pests in your garden. It may have some value in that respect, but I've been trying to kill it. It's perennial because it stings me every time I walk by. So it's like not growing in a location that's optimal. I have it in other places. I let it go, but in this particular garden bed, I kill it. I'll put the description in the description. I'll put the genus and species of this, what it's called, so you can have it for your own purposes. But it is a stinging vine, not pleasant. In this area of Texas, kind of a joke for locals that everything here wants to stab or sting you or bite you. I mean, it is kind of the environment here. So most of the trees have thorns. You got cactus, loads of things like that. So we've got your strawberry, your wild strawberry. You got it in a few places. That's because at one time this was all like strawberry carpet, and now after the drought, you got a few little spots that it's died back to, but it should fill back in no time. And I got sticks poking in the ground to mark dormant wild onion and garlic and stuff. Okay, let's Let's go to the other side of it. How big are these beds? They're about 4 foot wide or so. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, around 25 to 30 feet would be my guess. So that's about right. We have Comfrey on the back side of the bed, rhizome barrier type stuff. And these pretty little red flowers, that's a Turk's cap. This is purple coneflower, Echinacea. You see, got it right there. And it has spread from seed and it's spreading all over the place. I need to, my strategy for spreading native crops is to, I spread, let's see, I'm trying to remember, I save 25% of the seed, I leave 25% of the seed to drop in place, and I take 50% of the seed and spread it into other garden beds to see if it will self-seed. So that's kind of what I do. On this Turk's cap, the edibility, I've eaten the flowers. I think I read somewhere, I seem to recall, that the young leaves are supposed to be edible. I haven't tried that yet. So there's value there, but it also is a massive attractor for pollinators. So if you have fruit trees, you really do want to bring the pollinators in. Okay. And let's see. So if you look, I see there's a little log here. Goes down like this. So this little section is kind of broken off into its own little garden bed. So I'm trying to cover this first before moving down. This right here is some kind of a squash. It's a domestic squash. Don't know how it got here. I didn't plant it, but it's not in the way, so I'm letting it grow and find out. Maybe I'll get a fruit. And it grew through the entire drought without a single bit of care on my part. So, you know, that has some value, I think. This is a Comfrey. And all my Comfrey is Bocking 14. Please don't get the Comfrey that seeds. Get the Bocking 14 if you're going to grow it, because Comfrey is very invasive. All right, let's move to this next section. This next section is not really planted out. I've been growing all kinds of stuff in here. I even tried to grow tea, the actual tea plant that creates black tea, white tea, and green tea. But didn't have much luck. We got a quince, and you can see the Georgia collard, the chard, Swiss chard. Of course, you see that little purple flowers, the morning glory with the hallucinogenic seeds. We have another chard, oregano. This is not the cretin oregano, I don't believe. This is just regular culinary oregano. Let me get these. They produce a little white flower. You can't eat it, but pollinators do like it. All right, we'll step into the bed here. Let's see what we get. All right, we've got more chard and more chard. I don't think these are going to survive the winter. Look at that. Look at that mushroom. And then we've got briar, green briar, edible tuber, and I just kind of keep it trimmed down, and it seems happy with that. More Echinacea, purple coneflower. We've got Comfrey. I'm going to mention the water hose. I do supplemental watering, mainly for first year plant starts, stuff put in the ground first year, like these little chard. We've got Echinacea again up under there. This tree is Texas persimmon. More briar right here. Edible tuber. More Echinacea, purple coneflower. Thornless blackberry. See, this guy did pretty well. And this is a Texas persimmon. On the other side of this garden bed, just downhill from the pond, let's see if it's still alive. I bet it ain't. No, I think it is. Elderberry. Now, you see this stick here? This is the old elderberry stem. Okay? So I planted the elderberry here because it gets a decent amount of shade. And it's downhill from the pond, right next to the drain. So in years we get a lot of water. It's very moist here, very moist. and it absolutely loved it. So my theories about how much water an elderberry needs is, I think, being proven correct. But this year, with no water in the pond, it was very dry. So you can see how it affected the growth. This is one of those places where that stinging vine, I just let it do its business, and you can see it's just all over the place. Very prolific. But beware, it doesn't feel good. Okay. All right, a coppiced hackberry. And you'll see all up in here. You see elbow bushes. Here's another elbow bush that I've trimmed. I keep it trimmed down to allow light in. This is a spot where I once had artichoke, but it did not come back here. Way more dry back here than in other places. Another coppiced hackberry. Sage. I had loads of sage on the property at one time, but the super hot, dry conditions, cold winters, it doesn't really appreciate that too much. So if I want sage, I'll have to probably start it from seed every year. Rosemary. Let's see, we got another Echinacea, purple coneflower. And we've got a Texas persimmon nestled up in here. I want to check, I had a wild strawberry planted somewhere over here. I want to see if it came back. It sometimes does that, it gets dry, it'll die back a bit, and then it gets wet, it'll come back, but it looks like it is gone. Okay, we got a dwarf mulberry right here. And I had some strawberries, wild strawberries here. And they were growing really well until the rain came. And then the rain came and killed them all. Bizarre. All right, and this is one of the last spots that I had a woodland strawberry growing. And it finally died off in here. It was like a carpet all in here. And when it got real dry, it was needing supplemental water. And it was alive. And then again, we got rain, killed it. And, you know, I thought maybe I watered it right before the rain or something, and maybe it got too wet. No, that's not what happened. So, I don't know. One day I'll figure it out, hopefully. Here's a quince, little guy. This entire summer, never once had leaves. The entire spring, never once had leaves. We get a couple weeks of rain here recently. Boom, there it is. I think they're just trolling me at this point. I think the plants are just teasing me. And we've got this oregano plant growing here. And that covers, I think, this little garden bed section, the last garden bed in the update. Now, let's see, I got cactus. I have it in several places. I'll be spreading that around. I do have one more plant I'm going to cover. I don't have to walk down to it. I had a garden bed back here. It's not really a garden bed. What it really is I've got extra crops. I don't know what to do with it, so I throw them there. And they all die. I think the garlic actually is the only thing that actually keeps coming back. So why am I walking over here? Well, there's a spot in the woods that I've cleared out. This is a kind of our hanging spot, fire pit. And why am I bringing you over here? Well, when I was clearing it out, I discovered a full size. This gray trunk here. You can't really see it, and there's no leaves on it because I think maybe the drought killed it, but it's about 20 foot high. It's a black mulberry, full-size black mulberry that I did not plant. It was just there. It goes on to my rant about Texas mulberry versus black mulberry. So if anybody knows where I can get a Texas mulberry, hook me up. This is what I wanted to come over here and show you. This is a walnut. Black walnut. And there's Arizona walnut, and then there is a species, common name is Texas walnut or the little walnut. I may grow many more of those than I do black walnut. The black walnut's there because I want to get it to a certain size where I can take air layerings and cuttings and use it to populate my orchard in East Texas. I don't have very much walnut up there. So there you go, folks. I want to say thank you for sticking with me through the update, for your patience and all that. As far as what I'm going to do next, don't really know in terms of videos. I don't know if I would do anything discussing some of the stuff I've mentioned, like how I build garden beds or anything like that. But certainly I'll do updates as the season changes, as the dormant crops come up, as I plant new things, things change. I will certainly do updates there. But if anybody has any suggestions, oh, look at this while I'm standing here. This is another domesticated crop that came up. I don't know how recently. It looks like some kind of a gourd or melon, just like this one right here. Some kind of a gourd or melon, although I don't know which one yet. But anyway, you know, I'll probably, I know I'm going to be doing some work on this pond. I have a greenhouse that I have to build, stuff like that. So I'll probably do updates for that, and kind of play it by ear. Thanks, folks. Well, as I tell my wife quite often, I'll make this quick. You see this right here? This little trunk? Yeah, that is a mesquite tree. And I missed it when I came through the garden bed the first time. Why is it important? Well, it produces edible beans. I've mentioned that in another video. And I wanted to show something real quick. See, underneath this tree is an oak tree. This little guy right here. Rather than killing this oak tree, I decided that what I was going to do is I was going to prune it and then wedge it up into the mesquite tree and keep it pruned. So as I need to, I can modify the oak tree to lift this mesquite tree up. And actually, it has lifted it up considerably since I started this endeavor. You can see how it's grown with the trunk. It was actually laying way more down like this. And then after putting this guy underneath it for the last couple, 2 or 3, 4 years, whatever, over time, it's actually been able to lift this tree up to have a more upright posture, which I want because I want to use this mesquite tree to shade out some of these garden beds back there. Why? Because mesquite trees, just due to the nature of their leaves, it just provides the perfect amount of shade, even if you have stuff growing right underneath it, at least in this environment. All right, and now I'm really done.